Hello, my fellow viewers and subscribers. This is Superchocolatemilkshake, and I'm here with, well, another daily dose of chocolate. And today, I wanted to talk about phones, because this subject actually has gotten my interest of quite a reason, because of the fact that I broke my Samsung A16. So, first of all, to explain why I broke it, I was basically just mad at my dad. It's a subject for another time, but I kind of wanted to talk about the phone market anyway, because this has officially gotten concerning. Like, I cannot ignore this issue anymore. Shopping for a phone now these days has just gotten harder. Like, ridiculously harder. And honestly, I don't know if I necessarily need to describe how much more ridiculously harder it's gotten, but it's gotten stupidly hard. So, let me tell you. Okay, so, you're basically looking for a brand new phone, right? Because your old phone may be getting outdated or it's no longer usable or whatever. Okay, fine. You go to a website like GSM Arena, which, by the way, has an excellent listing of phones. Granted, it doesn't list every single phone out there, but it lists the majority of them in a way that it's all readable and it's easy to find and search up for. Okay, well, you go through the list and you find, like, okay, maybe an iPhone. Okay, yeah, sure. iPhones are standard. Dog easy, okay? What about the Samsung? Looks like the iPhone. Okay then. Let's try LG. Also looks like the iPhone. Or well, actually, no, not LG, but... Okay, when it comes down to it, I think you're gonna see the trend here. Basically, click on any phone brand out there. Most of the interesting ones are discontinued and no longer made, or you're looking at, like, the same exact copy of an iPhone with, like, some sort of weird gimmick to it. Like, for example, a hidden camera, or, a screen on the back, or it's a foldable, you know? Like, you can't find a phone that isn't just, like, the same exact thing as an iPhone. It's like every phone now is trying to be like Apple, you know? Like an iPhone. You're basically getting an iPhone with a different brand. And I'm like, man, I remember back when phones used to be unique, you know? Back when phones had their own operating system. Back when phones had their own style to them, you know? Like, you didn't have to go with a particular phone if it wasn't your cup of tea. You could always take a look at what they had, because there was different phones available. Heck, even underneath the same brand. Like, remember Sony Ericsson? How many different models that phone brand had? Like, it was amazing. And honestly, it's like, wow, I really wished we could go back to that, because, you know, now there isn't that much creativity now. Either you're going with assimilate to the iPhone style or die. Because, you know what, even Android is trying to copy Apple in their whole anti-consumerist practice of not allowing you to install apps on the side, which, by the way, yes, sign the petition for that. Also, do your best to get some apps side-loaded onto your phone immediately as soon as you can, to send the message to Google that we do not tolerate this, that we will not stand for it, because you know what? Google has not officially stepped back down on it, and honestly, like I said, this may end up screwing over the phone market completely and totally. Not that it's already been screwed over already, because ever since the iPhone launched, it seems like every single phone, every single major manufacturer for phones have always strived to try to be the iPhone. And by this point, they might as well have achieved it, because if you switch from one phone to another, really the trade-offs that you're getting is the camera, the processing power, the RAM, and that's it. Like, literally, that is it. You're not trading off much. Like, even the operating system itself, you're not really necessarily trading off. Yes, even from Android to iPhone, you're not really switching off much, because there is very little difference in between the two operating systems, and heck, even the underlying architecture is the same. Like, they are both based off of the Unix operating system, which means that basically no matter which way you look at it, like, they're both the same. They have nothing different with each other. I mean, the only thing that would be different between the iPhone is that it's majorly locked down, and the Android is not as locked down as the iPhone, but still, it's starting to get there because of what Google's doing. And honestly, these are evil practices. I hate this. This is getting to be absolutely nuts. I mean, there are still some dumb phones out there, but you have to search And I literally mean actively search for them. Because you know what? The majority of them are still being manufactured, but they're not being sold inside the United States. They are being sold in countries around the world. So being a phone buyer in the United States sucks. Oh yeah, not to mention also, Union also is going to probably be endorsing in some sort of evil practice too, by only allowing Samsungs and Apple in there, because apparently those are the only two companies that seem to work with their next step in their plan of having wireless calling and such, which, you know, I find to be absolutely disgusting, especially with the fact that I am back to using the Cat S22 Flip, which, by the way, I still like this phone, okay? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I think it's a fantastic phone, but honestly, it's like, sheesh, it's also running a little bit behind. It's running on an outdated version of Android. I do think I need something that's a little more up to date. And by the way, they do actually make another version of this phone that actually, surprisingly enough, is the exact same design as this phone and has an upgraded version of Android and actually even has features that this phone does not have. Want to know what's the problem with it, though? It's over 300 freaking dollars. I'll repeat that again. $300. Yeah. Like, you have no choice here, do you? I mean, it's either you're going for a dumb phone that costs just about as much as the smartphone, or you're going for a smartphone, which, by the way, is nothing more than just a copy of Apple. Like, there is no innovation with the smartphone market anymore. None. None whatsoever. I mean, even Unihertz. I mean, well, okay, Unihertz I do have a little bit of faith in, because their Titan does have a keyboard in it, but even then, it's like, that's still kind of minimalist and kind of going for like those classic BlackBerry vibes, which, by the way, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind having a BlackBerry, but even then, those Unihertz phones are way too freaking expensive to justify. Like, again, there is no happy medium here. What happened to the phone market? Oh, wait, I think I know exactly what happened. Let's flash back to, like, when did the iPhone release? 2004, 2005, 2008, somewhere about that time frame. I know it was like late 2000s, probably 2007. I forget where it was. I didn't necessarily do my research properly before I started this video. I'm very sorry. But let's flash back to then, when the iPhone was released. The very first Generation 1 iPhone was released. Everybody and their mothers wanted one. Everybody was out to clamor to get one. And Steve Jobs making sure that everybody could get one by having the deals worked out with phone distributors. Which, by the way, those ended up falling through big time because, well, let's face it, the phone distributors can only cover so much cost before they started failing and losing profit, so that's kind of the reason why you can't get phones for free or for cheaper through phone distributors anymore, which basically means that, yeah, you're basically not really necessarily losing any more money if you were to just buy the frickin' device yourself from the internet than you were to, I don't know, just go to the phone distributor. So, you know, it really makes no difference. The only thing is that, honestly, if you have an independent distributor like I do with Union Wireless, then yeah, you're going to have to get it through the Union Wireless thing, because otherwise you may have a phone that may not work with all their partners, which, I mean, I'm sorry, this is also evil practice in a way too. This almost makes, I mean, heck, this even makes Verizon, who is practically one of the more evil phone distributors and mobile market holders out there. And by the way, this is what I've been told by some friends that I know in government, okay? Trust me, Verizon has screwed over government officials for the longest time, so, but that's neither here nor there. The real truth is that no matter which way you look at it, like, you can't escape this. This is all being, like, assimilated, and sure, okay, fine, I guess there is Nokia, which, by the way, they do actually have some cheap phones, but those phones have their limits, okay? Like, sometimes they are just, like, former images of themselves, because, look, when it comes down to it, I remember having, like, a Nokia way back then. I had to use it for temporary reasons until I got another smartphone, which I think I upgraded to the Samsung after that. That thing I hated, because the battery never lasted in that thing. But the one thing that's for sure, I threw it all over the place, and it never got a single scratch, and it didn't stop working. I really wanted to make a joke video using an app that my friend had on his Apple iPod that basically allowed you to have some Hollywood style effects on certain things. Some of them included like bazookas, car crashes, even a telephone pole landing on top of stuff. Tell you the truth, I kind of wanted to do that and have like a joke video where showing how indestructible that Nokia phone was. And he wanted to add in a joke where we put the telephone pole right on top of it, and then it's like we picked up the phone, we picked it up, and it's like, full charge. you know? But you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is kind of the issue. It's like the phone market has just, like, it's devastated. It's been ruined ever since Apple introduced the Apple iPhone. And honestly, it hasn't gotten any better since. And the phones that you can find that are vaguely unique and have something different to them are just stupidly expensive and way out of your reach. So what are we going to do? Well, my idea was personally to develop my own phone, but I don't know. I don't know how well that's going to work. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be cheaper than any of the other phones out there, but hey, I could certainly see if I could put a parts list together and see if I can try. And you know what? Maybe I might take you guys along with me, make a video out of it, because it might be interesting. Because you know what? That's the thing. Like, the phone market has gotten so freaking stagnant right now that honestly, it's just hard to find something that is unique and meant for you, you know? And I think this is something that I think most of us are starting to agree with here. Like, even if some people are like, oh, I can't survive without my apps, like my GPS or my Facebook or whatever. Well, truth be told, you probably could. I mean, you just didn't try. But, and, honestly, those apps are kind of what's kind of destroying the society anyway. But that's neither here nor there. That's another opinion, and that's another subject for another time. But when it comes down to it, though, it's like, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, man, we really do need to learn to let some of this stuff go, because it's not really necessarily doing anything good for us, and it's not really necessarily pushing our lives forward or making our lives any better. And again, that's something I would have to say about the Apple iPhone and most of the Android phones out there now these days, or the Android smartphones. Mine is kind of like an in-between device. It's a feature phone. Like, it has the Android operating system on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I use all the features of the Android operating system with it, because, well, let's face it, it is not exactly the best phone to go scrolling through social media with. It's not exactly the greatest photo taker, and also, it's not exactly the greatest audio recorder, too, as you can currently hear, because I'm using this phone to record this message. Like, yeah, like, no matter which way you look at it, it's not exactly the greatest, but at the same time, I do like it, and I wish I could just continue to use it, but again, it may end up becoming obsoleted within the next coming weeks if Union ends up going through with what I know they're probably going to end up going through with. So, yeah, like, this is the problem, too. It's like, now I'm screwed. I don't know what I'm going to do, because, like I said, when it comes down to it, there's only certain manufacturers that are going to be supporting the Union thing, and that is only Apple or Samsung. And it's like, sheesh, I have a choice in between an iPhone and an iPhone with a different brand, because there is no choice anymore. You're assimilated, you're a part of the system using a smartphone. Whoopee. I know some people are probably going to hate me for having this kind of criticism about the phone market, but it's true. Like, seriously. When was the last time you felt compelled to upgrade because, well, you wanted to upgrade to it because there was something unique about it. There was something different about it. No. You wanted to upgrade because it was the next best thing. You didn't want to be obsolete. That's exactly the reason why they're making as much money as they can, because you're a big sucker, despite the fact that really there's no reason to upgrade, because your phone is going to be perfectly fine for maybe the next 5 years. Like I said, when it comes down to it, I'm getting kind of sick and tired of this. I am sick and tired of seeing this being the main and the norm for the market. And honestly, I really wish we could just go back to old phones. Because you know what? There's also something else I would bring up too. Something that I'm not afraid of bringing up about the older phones is that I used to own several older phones. I had like a Cat B100 or something like that. I forget what number it was, but it was like an old brick phone that looked very sturdy, That thing, I only charge like maybe once a week, every 2 weeks at most. Or, well, at least, anyway. At most, it was once a week. At least, it was twice, or once every 2 weeks. Okay? Sorry, I'm getting this all messed up in my head. But, and the same thing was for the Plum brand, too, though, granted, I didn't really necessarily like that phone very much because it had a lot of issues to it. Look, I do not recommend Plum as a brand, okay? Plum doesn't really necessarily make the best of phones. Actually, AMG I would recommend because they do actually have some fairly solid phones, but they do have their hitches. Like I said, when it comes down to it, you're always going to be playing the whole, is this going to work well? Is this not going to work well? Is this going to work with my provider or whatnot? That's the thing that you're going to have to worry about. And that's something that I think a lot of people probably need to really consider when buying another phone. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I also remember the XPS 5700, or I think it was, yeah, I think that's what it was. And that phone was also amazing too, and I only had to charge that like once a week, every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks if I didn't use it nearly as much, so, and again, that's something about those older phones that were absolutely amazing. And you know what? When I connected them up to a computer, they worked perfectly fine. I didn't have to worry about any other additional settings that I had to mess around with inside the phone. I didn't have to worry about trying to get my computer to, or at least my media player to recognize the device, or to sync to the device because, well, unfortunately, some proper protocols weren't installed on the computer or something like that. Or it was running on default drivers and they absolutely sucked. Like, I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff because you know what? When it comes down to it, it worked like a flash drive, and even if it locked you out of your music player and it locked you out of your files, you could still use your phone. It's like, what the heck? Oh, yeah, but the files thing was kind of necessary because your computer was messing around with them, but that's neither here nor there. Again, it was still a fast, secure link that honestly, really, you could just copy anything over to just with a click of a button. And that was what made those phones amazing, too. Now it's like you don't get that option. You don't get that choice. Like, I don't know why it's like this right now, but honestly, again, most of it was because people were gullible, everybody wanted one, and Apple made the iPhone. Yeah, I guess I really don't have much else to say about that besides that. Not to be the old boomer grandpa who wants to chew out the phones and yell at the cloud. Oh, yeah, but not to mention also, they're forcing AI into everything, and honestly, I absolutely hate that. Like, I really hate the fact that they're forcing AI into our phones. Like, the last Samsung presentation that they did for the S22 Ultra, AI, 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 AI. If I had to say, don't turn it into a drinking challenge, because you'll probably wake up in the hospital the next day having alcohol removed from your liver, okay? Like, there was probably only one new feature that they announced on their phone, which was the privacy-only screen, that honestly, I could definitely see people using for porn on trains because, I don't think that's necessarily the smartest move ever, but you know what, when it comes down to it, it's the only feature that they announced that honestly wasn't AI related. Like, why? Again, that's the biggest issue right now, is that it's either focusing on AI, focusing on the RAM, focusing on the camera, and doing nothing else. Having nothing unique, nothing interesting, just the same damn boring phone, and not even a different coat of paint. Just the same freaking thing. So anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments down below. And hey, I should also probably mention the fact that I also am running a game jam right now. If you want to join it, please be sure to click that one link down below in the description. It's the very first link after I start listing my important links. And also be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and comment still. I don't know why I decided to say that again. Anyway, this is Superchocolatemilkshake signing off.